Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Martial Universe Season 10 Part 52 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. When Liu Yang saw that young face in front of her, which she knew by heart, tears continuously fell. After which, her hands were trembling as she extended her hand and gently touched Lin Dong's face. Her careful demeanor was as though she was afraid that the scene in front of her was merely a hallucination before death. Lin Dong stood with a smile as he allowed Liu Yang's somewhat icy-cold hand to touch his face. The instant they touched, the blood connection between them caused his heart to tremble gently. "It really is you. Dong, you are alive?" The warmth which entered her hand caused Liu Yang to completely recover her senses. Immediately, great joy surged onto her face. After which, she hugged Lin Dong violently before she cried continuously. After all, no one knew how badly her heart ached when she received news that Lin Dong was forced to flee from the eastern Xian region by the Yuan Gate, and that no one knew if he was dead or alive. Fortunately, she subsequently received news that Lin Dong was alive, and this helped to turn things around. Nevertheless, her heart still felt like it was being pierced by countless needles, when she thought of the hardships that Lin Dong must be suffering while roaming out in the world all by himself. Lin Dong hugged Liu Yang tightly as he gently leaned on her shoulder. His dark black eyes, which never revealed the slightest bit of fear when up against any perilous life and death situations, had some tears gathering within them. "Mother, I am well." Lin Dong inhaled a deep breath of air before he calmed himself down. Then, he lifted his head to look at Lin Xiao, who was standing beside Liu Yang. Currently, the latter's typically stern face was also filled with joy. However, he forcefully held back most of his emotions. "Father." Lin Dong smiled at Lin Xiao and said, "Humph, little brat, to think that you actually remember that you have a father. It has been so many years since you left, yet you never bothered to tell us how you were doing." Lin Xiao's face became stern as he coldly chided. "What nonsense are you saying? Dong has suffered tremendously in the outside world. What gives you the right to criticize him?" Liu Yang immediately turned around and chided furiously when she heard his words. Though she was typically warm and friendly, she was just like a tigress protecting her cub now. Lin Xiao laughed dryly. He looked at Lin Dong's smiling face before his eyes involuntarily reddened. "Little fellow, you are as stubborn as always. Back then, I told you that you can always come back home when you grow tired outside. I might not be as capable as you, however, I will never let you suffer as long as I am around." "Father, since when did you become such a sentimental person?" Even with Lin Dong's character, he still felt his nose twitch when he heard Lin Xiao's words. Only in front of them was he once again that tender youth from Qingyang town, and not some elite top-notch expert. Lin Xiao smilingly chided him. After which, he quickly took a step to the side and said, "Little brat, your grandfather is here. Why aren't you greeting him?" "Ha ha, there is no need to rush. This young fellow has just returned. Let him speak to his mother first." Lin Zhentian laughed out loud. Previously, he had mostly remained silent. However, as of now, his demeanor had changed completely. In fact, some tears were glimmering in his elderly eyes as he stared at Lin Dong. Meanwhile, his face was filled with pride. "Grandpa, despite your age, you are as fit as always." Lin Dong looked at Lin Zhentian and laughed. Back then, this old man was the most authoritative figure in his family, and even he was a little afraid of the latter. Lin Zhentian laughed out loud. Then, he took a step forward and patted Lin Dong's shoulders heavily, before he said with some excitement, "Well done. Little fellow, you are the pride of our Lin family." The reason why their Lin family enjoyed such a high status in Great Yang Empire, and why even the clan head of the main clan had to treat them with utmost respect, was all because of Lin Dong's efforts. Everyone on the city walls had gradually recovered their senses at this moment. When they saw the skinny young man standing in front of Lin Xiao, all of them turned to look at each other. After all, many people here knew who Lin Dong was. Several years ago, Lin Dong was merely a youth when he left Great Yang Empire to participate in the 100 Empire War. However, when he returned, that young man now had the makings of a grandmaster. In fact, he easily blocked the attack from a Samsara stage expert previously. Hence, just how frightening must he be, in order for him to do so? Ha ha, it is actually young brother Lin Dong who has saved all of us. On behalf of my great Yan Empire, allow me to thank you. Mo Jingtian quickly stepped forward, cupped his hands together before he smilingly said. His smile even appeared slightly respectful. After all, strength reigned supreme in this world. In fact, his title as the head of the royal family was likely worthless in the eyes of the current Lin Dong. Lin Dong smiled back at him. After which, he looked at the young man behind Mo Jingtian and laughed. Brother Mo Ling, how's life in Dao sect? Mo Ling had an excited expression as he quickly nodded. Then, his heart churned as he thought of how they had supported each other back when they participated in the 100 Empire War together. You are Marshal Senior Lin Dong. A timid voice was emitted from behind Mo Ling. Lin Dong lifted his head and saw that it came from a green-cloaked young lady. This young lady was quite pretty and she had a delicate figure. In fact, she was a little beauty. However, there seemed to be wild heat showing within the latter's big eyes currently. This is Anran. Ha ha, she is also a disciple of our desolate hall and she has always worshipped you. Of course, I'm afraid that there isn't a single disciple in Dao sect who does not worship you. In fact, there will likely be a huge uproar if they know that you have returned. Mo Ling laughed. When Lin Dong thought of his martial brothers back at the desolate hall, warmth rose in his heart. Then, he smiled towards Anran. When she saw his smile, a pretty small face was so excited that it turned red. Entangling her small hands together, she no longer looked as cheeky as she usually did. Eldershire, it has been a while since we met. How are you doing? Lin Dong's attention shifted towards the grey-robed blind old man behind. Then, he softly laughed. He had frequently played chess with Eldershire back at Dao sect and had also received many pointers from him. Hence, Lin Dong was extremely respectful towards him. You little fellow. Eldershire's white eyes looked at Lin Dong, before a pleased smile appeared on his face. That young man back then had unknowingly grown until he reached a level whereby even he could not hope to touch. The originally tensed and despairing atmosphere on the city walls had also stealthily disappeared. Instead, their faces were filled with joy as they secretly looked at that skinny young man. Ever since the latter showed up, he did not even bother to glance at his enemy in the distance. Hence, his demeanor caused hope to rise in their hearts, which were previously filled with despair. May I know who you are? I am an elder of Yuan Gate, Zhao Kuei. I hope that this young friend will not randomly intervene. Otherwise, you may end up creating unnecessary problems for yourself. Standing in the distant sky, Zhao Kuei's eyes stared menacingly at that figure, who was on the city walls. His deep cry was like a thunder roar, as it resounded across the sky. Judging by Lin Dong's previous attack, Zhao Kuei knew that Lin Dong definitely possessed extremely frightening strength. As such, he became wary of the latter and did not dare to randomly attack again. Countless pairs of eyes on the city walls looked towards Lin Dong after Zhao Kuei spoke. The only one who could block Zhao Kuei was likely the latter. Donga. Liu Yang tugged Lin Dong's arm while her face was plastered with anxiety. Lin Dong smiled towards Liu Yang. However, he paid no attention to Zhao Kuei's arrogant threat. When the crowd saw his actions, they did not dare to speak up as well. Could it be that you can't hear my words? Zhao Kuei was furious when he saw that Lin Dong had completely ignored him. Immediately, he cried out sternly. After all, their Yuan Gate was different from before. In fact, even if the other party was an ultimate Samsara stage expert, their Yuan Gate would not fear him at all. Noisy old dog. Lin Dong finally replied, but he did not turn around. Instead, all he did was speak in a faint voice. You? Zhao Kuei was extremely furious. He clenched his hand before monstrous Yuan power gathered. Buzz. Just as he was about to lose control and attack, the space above the city walls once again became distorted. After which, 10 figures suddenly appeared behind Lin Dong. These figures who had suddenly showed up caused Mo Jingtian, Lin Fan, and the rest to be startled. Immediately, cold sweat began to appear on their foreheads when they sensed the terrifying pressure being emitted from their bodies. First Commander? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander glanced at the noisy Zhao Kuei, before a cold glint flashed across his eyes. After which, he turned to Lin Dong and asked. An ordinary samsara stage expert actually dared to act so arrogantly in front of them? Beside him, Mo Jingtian and the rest were all startled when they saw how respectful the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was when he spoke to Lin Dong. Lin Dong ignored their startled expressions. He merely waved his hand gently before an indifferent voice was emitted, "Beat him." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander immediately laughed ferociously upon hearing those words. Then, his body moved before he immediately vanished. The next time he appeared, he was already standing in front of Zhao Kuei. Old dog with an unstable aura, how dare you act so arrogantly here? You are truly courting death. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander chuckled towards Zhao Kuei, before he threw his fist forward. Immediately, monstrous Yuan power gathered before a dragon roar resounded. In fact, there was a faint reincarnation ripple within his mighty Yuan power. Zhao Kuei hurriedly circulated his Yuan power when he saw this. Then, he used his full strength to throw a counterpunch. Bang! A terrifying energy assault wave swept apart when their fists collided. After which, everyone heard Zhao Kuei screech, before his body flew backwards by tens of thousands of feet in a miserable fashion. It turns out Zhao Kuei was actually unable to receive even a single punch from that powerful mysterious individual. Ha ha, I will also give it a go. The Golden Ape Demon Commander laughed out loud towards the sky when he saw this. Then, his body moved before he appeared behind Zhao Kuei, who was now flying backwards. After which, his body paused before a flying kick, which contained a faint reincarnation ripple, swung towards the latter's body. Bang! Zhao Kuei immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. In fact, even before he could stabilize his body, he was sent flying in another direction. Meanwhile, his internal organs were greatly shaken. Ha ha! The Ju Yi brothers also laughed out loud. Then, one of them stepped forward, before he delivered a punch and sent Zhao Kuei flying once again. Bang bang bang! A couple of figures were standing in the sky while punches flew. After which, everyone gasped in shock when they saw that Zhao Kuei, who previously looked down on them and regarded them as mere ants, was being randomly kicked around like a sandbag. This scene clearly indicated that Zhao Kuei didn't even possess the slightest ability to retaliate. At a distance away, the surrounding armies who were about to attack them, also began to tremble in shock. Meanwhile, Mo Jingtian and the rest, who were standing on the city walls, were staring at this scene with ashen faces. After all, that was an ultimate samsara stage expert. They secretly took a peek at Lin Dong, who was still speaking with Liu Yang and did not even bother to turn his head around. Immediately, a chill involuntarily surged through their bodies. Furthermore, they still remembered how that person addressed Lin Dong previously. First Commander. Evidently, Lin Dong was the leader of this terrifying group. Although they had yet to see Lin Dong in an actual fight, they understood that this young man, who had been wearing a smile all along, was likely the most terrifying individual. Lin Xiao and Lin Zhentian exchanged glances with each other. After which, they smiled bitterly and felt somewhat helpless. However, there was also an incredulous pride on their faces. They wondered just what that little brat had to endure over all these years, in order to become so terrifyingly powerful. The various bang sounds continued for a long time. Finally, Lin Dong smiled at Liu Yang and said, "Mother, let me go and resolve this situation." Lin Dong slowly turned around after speaking. Then, his gently smiling face slowly turned icy cold. He extended his hand, before a black hole surged forth on his palm. Then, a suction force spluttered forth. After which, that miserable figure, who was being beaten in the distance, flew backwards before he hovered in front of Lin Dong. Currently, blood and horror covered Zhao Kuei's face. Lin Dong smiled at him, while his hand gently grabbed his throat. However, to Zhao Kuei's eyes, his smile appeared to be like that of the devil's. "Are you the one who wanted to kill my parents previously?" A voice, which was accompanied by a faint laughter, was slowly transmitted into Zhao Kuei's ears. From within that laughter, Zhao Kuei detected a rich murderous intent, which caused his heart to shudder. Who are you? Fear finally climbed on Zhao Kuei's face a little at a time. Previously, the few people who attacked him had completely surpassed him in terms of strength. Moreover, the most terrifying aspect was that he could detect an extremely frightening ripple from their bodies, and it had the scent of reincarnation. These people, who had appeared out of nowhere, were actually all experts who had touched reincarnation. In fact, even the current Yuan Gate would have difficulty producing such a lineup. You guys came all the way here to capture my family. Yet, you ask who I am? Lin Dong smilingly said. Your family? Zhao Kuei was startled. Great shock and disbelief suddenly surged in his eyes a moment later. He struggled as he said in a hoarse voice, You are Lin Dong? You are indeed still alive? Impossible. How did you become so powerful? However, soon after, Zhao Kuei cried out with a flushed face. After all, back when Lin Dong was still at the Eastern Xian region, Zhao Kuei was already an elder of Yuan Gate. At that time, Lin Dong was merely a younger generation member. However, right now, the person standing in front of him was undoubtedly even more terrifying than those who had attacked him previously. How was it possible for Lin Dong to become this powerful within 3 short years? Lin Dong glanced indifferently at him and said, Like I said, the day when I return to the Eastern Xian region shall be the day that your Yuan Gate is destroyed. Those 3 old dogs in Yuan Gate are still alive, am I right? Humph, our 3 great sect masters are also completely different from before. So what if you have returned? Since our Yuan Gate once forced you to flee, we can do so again. Zhao Kuei seemed to have regained a lot more confidence when he mentioned the 3 great sect masters, as he immediately chuckled. Is that so? Lin Dong smiled faintly. However, there was an endless chill seeping out from his smile. It isn't going to be so easy to restrain me. When Zhao Kuei saw Lin Dong's smile, he felt uneasy immediately. Promptly, he cried out loud before the vast and mighty Yuan power within his body swept out without restraint. Following which, the space around him also became distorted because of his Yuan power assault. Bang! Zhao Kuei's arms suddenly exploded at this moment before blood fog spluttered out. Meanwhile, the Yuan power assault also became increasingly wild and violent, and Zhao Kuei was actually able to escape from Lin Dong's grip. After which, his body moved before both of his legs also exploded into a bloody fog. Finally, his body transformed into a blood ray of light, before he fled with extreme speed. Ha ha, Lin Dong, just you wait. There is no way our Yuan Gate will let any of you off. By blowing his limbs apart, Zhao Kuei managed to escape. After which, his sharp roar, which was filled with rich murderous intent, resounded across the sky. Standing behind him, little Martin snorted when he saw that Zhao Kuei was trying to flee. He was just about to intervene when he was stopped by Lin Dong. Currently, Lin Dong was staring at the direction where Zhao Kuei was fleeing with an indifferent expression. Meanwhile, a black glow surged within his dark black eyes. Kai? The area around that blood ray of light, which was trying to flee, suddenly froze. After which, 4 black hole swirls appeared out of nowhere. Those 4 black hole swirls surrounded and trapped that blood ray of light, just like a prison cell. With an indifferent expression on his face, Lin Dong extended his arm before he gently clenched his hand. Bang! Immediately, those 4 black hole swirls shrunk. Following which, pressure from those terrifying black holes quickly crushed that blood ray of light. Soon after, Zhao Kuei's incomparably sharp and miserable cry resounded across the place. Swoosh! A ray of light shot out just after Zhao Kuei's body was crushed. It was Zhao Kuei's Yuan spirit. At this moment, his face was filled with fear. Meanwhile, his body moved as he attempted to flee. Buzz! However, a huge black hole appeared above him just as his Yuan spirit was about to flee. After which, terrifying devouring power spread before they directly pulled him towards it. Please don't. Let me go. I can tell you many secrets about Yuan Gate. That suction force completely terrified Zhao Kuei. After all, he knew that if his Yuan spirit was destroyed, he would perish from this world. The current Yu isn't even qualified to beg for mercy. Lin Dong spoke in an indifferent tone before he waved his sleeve. Following which, that black hole began to rotate rapidly before Zhao Kuei's Yuan spirit was directly sucked in. Then, a sharp miserable cry immediately buzzed and reverberated across this part of the world. The black hole in the sky slowly disappeared. However, the entire place remained completely silent. In fact, even though there were countless individuals outside the city walls, not a single soul dared to speak. In the distant sky, those experts from Yuan Gate were staring at this scene with ashen faces. Meanwhile, their bodies trembled violently. An elder, who had reached the samsara stage, was actually killed in this fashion. He was an ultimate samsara stage expert. In the past, such a person was a powerful being who could become the leader of a super sect. However, he was actually destroyed by Lin Dong in less than 10 minutes. Lin Dong. It's Lin Dong from Dao sect. He is back for revenge. Some powerful Yuan Gate experts recalled Zhao Kuei's miserable last words. Immediately, they turned to look at that skinny young figure standing on the city walls, before dense fear surged into their eyes. Above the city walls, it was completely silent. After Lin Dong took care of Zhao Kuei, he slowly took a step forward before he glanced indifferently at those powerful experts from Yuan Gate. Quick, let's flee! When they saw Lin Dong turning his attention towards them, as well as his eyes which looked like that of a war god, those powerful experts from Yuan Gate felt their scalps turn numb. Soon after, a miserable cry sounded before all of them turned and fled. In fact, they had lost the courage to fight. Like I said, no one from Yuan Gate will be spared. Lin Dong looked at those powerful experts from Yuan Gate, who were trying to escape, before a brutal aura suddenly surged within his dark black eyes. Then, lightning flashed within his eyes. Following which, everyone saw thunder clouds swiftly converging in the distant sky, before the sky turned dark at a frightening speed. Rumble. Countless thunderbolts, which resembled lightning dragons, came raining down from all directions. Those powerful experts from Yuan Gate, who were trying to escape, were all swept by those lightning dragons. Following which, miserable cries resounded across the place before many charred figures fell continuously from the sky. It was like the display of God's might. When many onlookers saw this doomsday-esque scene, all of them were scared out of their wits. Could such strength actually be possessed by a human? Standing on the city walls, Mo Jingtian and the rest stared at the skinny figure, who had now lowered his hands, before they inhaled a deep breath of air. How on earth did he train? Previously, he was able to kill Zhao Kuei, a samsara stage expert, with the flip of his palm. Now, he could easily summon lightning as well. His abilities were truly divine and unfathomable. Martial Senior Lin Dong is truly incredible. The young lady called and ran stared at the back of that figure with an excited expression in her big eyes. Meanwhile, her pretty small face had become flushed due to excitement. Although Dao Sect was able to block Yuan Gate's attacks over the past year thanks to little senior sister Ying Huanhuan, they were unable to do so in such an overbearing fashion like Lin Dong. This martial senior Lin Dong, who left a huge mark on Dao Sect back then, and whose fame even surpassed that of senior Zhu Tong, was actually this incredible. You did not see the fight back at the unique Devil City. At that time, Lin Dong was merely at the Nirvana stage, yet he actually dared to challenge the three great heads of Yuan Gate. Mo Ling laughed softly. Anran nodded solemnly. After which, her small hands were rubbing her boiling hot pretty face as she said, "This is bad, this is very bad. It seems like I have fallen for Martial Senior Lin Dong. Oh no, Martial Senior Mo Ling, what should I do? Does that mean I have to compete with little senior sister Huanhuan? Oh? This is far too much pressure." Mo Ling involuntarily smiled upon hearing this. Why was this lass so adorable? Rumble. The thunderbolts rained down from all directions and left the invading armies in utter confusion and chaos. Fortunately, Lin Dong did not focus his killing intent on them. Otherwise, this place would have definitely been reduced into a river of blood. Thunderbolts came raining down for a couple of minutes. Finally, they began to die down. Nonetheless, those powerful experts from Yuan Gate were all completely burnt and none of them managed to escape. The generals leading the armies from various empires shuddered when they saw this scene. In fact, some of the weaker ones even cried out involuntarily. Lin Dong looked at the armies from the various allied empires. With an indifferent expression, he gently waved his hand. Roar! An earth-shaking tiger roar sounded from afar after Lin Dong waved his hand. After which, everyone was stunned when they saw a black cloud sweeping over from afar. Meanwhile, a terrifying dark and brutal aura spread, causing the surrounding temperature to fall. Swoosh! A blade came slashing out from within the black cloud as it approached. Immediately, monstrous aura swept out from it. Then, a 10,000 feet large black blade shot forth and split the ground, leaving a 100,000 feet large deep gully. Boom! That black torrent streaked across the sky before they landed in front of the city walls. The land trembled violently at that instant. After they landed, all of them knelt down with one knee on the ground and faced the city wall. Their every action, including their breathing, was in complete unison. Meanwhile, their dense dark auras gathered in the sky and seemingly formed a 100,000 feet large tiger. After 1 hour, kill any enemy soldier remaining in the Great Yang Empire. Lin Dong's cold and indifferent voice spread. Understood. A low and deep cry resounded across the entire place. Meanwhile, hovering in the sky, that 100,000 feet large fearsome tiger, which was formed by their auras, slowly crouched on the ground. Its monstrous aura was extremely terrifying. What a terrifying army! Mo Jingtian and the rest looked at the tiger-devouring army, which was seemingly a single entity, before their eyes were filled with dense shock. Could it be that this mysterious powerful army was also under Lin Dong's command? They looked at each other, before they saw that the reverence in each other's eyes had grown. Not only did the present Lin Dong possess formidable strength, but he also had a monstrous faction under his command, which could shake the entire eastern Xian region. The young man from back then had truly become an overlord. The morale of the Alliance army in the distance was already in shambles. Therefore, even before their commanding generals gave their orders, all of them turned around and fled. A sea of troops were fleeing on the mountain range, and it created a spectacular sight. The people on the city walls, who were originally in despair, were momentarily stunned when they saw that the Alliance army was retreating. Moments later, an earth-shaking cheer finally erupted. Amidst the earth-shaking cheers, countless pairs of eyes were staring reverently at that young man standing on the city walls. Meanwhile, a heated expression also surged into many of their eyes. They knew that a legend was born in Great Yang Empire today. Moreover, the name of that legend was Lin Dong. Back then, he was just a weak young man when he left home. However, the world trembled under his feet when he returned. The entire capital erupted into a sea of cheers. Not long ago, all of them were in complete despair. After all, once their city was overrun, the Great Yang Empire would be history. Following which, every citizen of the empire would lose their homes and be forced to leave their homeland. Furthermore, they had witnessed this miserable fate far too many times over the last 2 years. However, at their most desperate moment, hope arrived in the form of a young man who could make the world tremble at his feet. With just a smile, every powerful expert from Yuan Gate was wiped out. Meanwhile, a single sentence from him caused millions of allied soldiers to flee miserably. Only at this moment did they finally believe that there were indeed legends in this world who could dictate the weather with their words. However, throughout the history of their Great Yang Empire, such a being had never appeared. Until now. The army on the city walls had all went back into the city and only those essential guards were left behind. After all, with that monstrous tiger army standing guard outside of the city, there was no need for them to stay. There was a huge manor in the capital and it was where the Lin clan was located. Due to the war, the Lin clan had shifted all of their resources to this manor. At this moment, this manor was boiling with excitement and countless members of the clan were flooding in. After which, many pairs of excited eyes looked into the spacious living room from outside. Finally, all their attention focused on a skinny young figure within. Is that Big Brother Lin Dong? Quick, let me have a look. Big Brother Lin Dong is someone from our Lin clan. All of you did not see what happened previously, but that elder from Yuan Gate was killed by Big Brother Lin Dong instantly. Meanwhile, those armies from various empires withdrew in panic because of a single sentence from him. Big Brother Lin Dong is really good looking. Hey, can you don't be so boy crazy? I am of the same generation as Big Brother Lin Dong. Back then, I also took part in the clan gathering. However, Big Brother Lin Dong was not so powerful back then. Seated in the living room, Lin Dong was holding a teacup in his hand before he gently took a sip. Although those private whispers outside were extremely soft, he still managed to hear all of them. Immediately, a faint smile was lifted on the corner of his lips. This was a rather pleasant sensation. In the living room, the clan head of the Lin clan, Lin Fan, and many elders were seated below. As of now, the top seat was occupied by a helpless-looking Lin Zhentian. Originally, that seat was supposed to be occupied by Lin Dong. However, that little brat ended up pushing his grandpa onto it instead. Below Lin Dong sat Little Martin, Little Flame, First Elder Zhu Li, Liu Qing, and the rest. Lin Dong had introduced all of them previously. After Lin Fan and the elders of the Lin clan learnt that they were all ultimate experts who had advanced to the samsara stage, even the servant serving them tea began to tremble. After all, although the Lin clan was much stronger compared to before, they were hardly worthy of the attention from so many ultimate experts. However, they all secretly sighed in relief when they realized that these ultimate experts, who must be treated with extreme respect even by sect masters of various super sects in the Eastern Xian region, were not arrogant individuals. Instead, all of them returned their greetings with a smile. Though they knew that this was likely because of their relationship with Lin Dong, Lin Fan, and the elders still felt joy and excitement in their hearts. Ha ha, Lin Dong ah. Lin Fan's face was full of smiles. Moreover, even though he was the clan head, there wasn't a tinge of pride on his face. Instead, all he did was grin when he looked at Lin Dong. The latter found his smile a little comical. After all, back then, the clan head of the Lin clan seemed like a rather prestigious role to his eyes. It's all thanks to you that our Lin clan is able to develop until such an extent. Previously, the Elder Council was having a discussion. I am already so old, the position of clan head. Clan head Lin Fan, I'm afraid that I am not interested. Lin Dong smiled faintly. This old fellow was quite cunning. Was he planning to use this to tie him up? Lin Fan smiled awkwardly when he heard Lin Dong's rejection. Given Lin Dong's current strength, if he was to become the clan head, notwithstanding the Great Yang Empire, it was likely that their Lin clan would become extremely well known across the entire Eastern Xian region. With this in mind, Lin Fan involuntarily turned to look at Lin Zhentian for help. Over all these years, he had managed to build a good relationship with Lin Zhentian. When Lin Zhentian saw this sight, he quickly turned his head away. He was not an old fool. Since Lin Dong was unwilling to do so, there was no way he would force the latter to comply. After all, Lin Dong was no longer a child like he was before. Lin Fan could only helplessly shake his head when he saw Lin Zhentian acting in this manner. Lin Dong saw through their actions. Finally, he laughed softly before he placed the teacup in his hands down. Then, with a faint smile he said, "Give it to my father." The Lin family was ultimately an offshoot of the Lin clan. Moreover, Lin Zhentian had a strong clan mentality and he put in a great deal of effort back then, in order for his family to return to the main clan. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Dong to completely differentiate between the two. In that case, it was best to allow his family to reap more benefits. Lin Fan was startled. He quickly rejoiced and nodded continuously. Lin Xiao was Lin Dong's father. Therefore, it didn't matter whether the son or the father became the clan head. After all, if any problems occur, there was no way Lin Dong would abandon his father. "You little brat." Beside him, Lin Xiao was about to reprimand Lin Dong after hearing those words. However, Lin Fan quickly laughed and said, "Lin Xiao, please do not reject this. All of us have witnessed your abilities. You will be the clan head of the Lin clan in the future. It's already decided." He hurriedly left without waiting for Lin Xiao's reply. His actions caused Lin Xiao to be stunned. Since when did anyone willing forsake the position of clan head in such a simple and straightforward fashion? Since Dong has said so, you should accept it first. Beside him, Liu Yang softly said. Upon hearing her words, Lin Xiao could only stare angrily at Lin Dong. However, he did not speak up anymore. Dong, come over. There is something that I want to tell you. Liu Yang suddenly beckoned Lin Dong over before she smilingly said. Lin Dong was startled. After he walked over, Liu Yang began to gently straighten his clothes. Then, with a smile of anticipation, she said, Do you know? In the past 3 years since you left, there would be 2 ladies who will visit us every year. Lin Dong was startled and he was at a loss. Ladies? Visiting his parents. Cough. Lin Xiao coughed and said, Both ladies are pretty decent. Little brat, you got good eyesight. Lin Dong felt even more confused. Then, he helplessly asked, Who are you guys referring to? One of them is called Ling Qingzhu. The other is called Ying Huanhuan. Lin Xiao grinned before he said. This time around, even with Lin Dong's mental fortitude, he was involuntarily stunned. Things had truly exceeded his expectations. After all, Ling Qingzhu was a prideful person and he had never expected her to take the initiative to visit Lin Xiao and Liu Yang. On the other hand, Ying Huanhuan was just like a little princess whom others treasured and took care of. Therefore, since when did she become so mature? Both ladies are pretty decent. I like them both very much. When are you going to bring them home? Liu Yang asked joyously. These 2 ladies were both extremely talented and it was impossible to find anyone more outstanding than them in the entire Great Yang Empire. Hence, Liu Yang was extremely satisfied with the both of them. Lin Dong could only laugh dryly. Even though he currently possessed the ability to kill a samsara stage expert with the flip of his palm, when dealing with matters of the heart, he still felt cold sweat appearing all over his forehead. Oh, that's right. Father, Mother, I will not be able to stay here for long this time around. The Eastern Xian region is far too chaotic and Dao sect is in deep trouble. Hence, I will have to make a trip back. Lin Dong hurriedly changed the topic and said. Are you planning to leave again? Liu Yang hurriedly asked after she heard those words. Meanwhile, she no longer pestered him about the previous topic. Dao sect has groomed Dong. Now that Dao sect is in trouble, he will naturally have to return and help them. Moreover, our Lin clan has received much benefits from Dao sect over all these years. Therefore, this is something that he must do. Lin Xiao said in a deep voice. Lin Dong nodded. After which, he looked at the Golden Ape Demon Commander and said, Golden Ape, you will lead 2,000 soldiers from the Tiger-Devouring Army and protect this place. Send a message to me if anything happens. Understood. The Golden Ape Demon Commander nodded and replied. When will you be leaving? Lin Zhenqian opened his mouth and asked. Initially, Lin Dong wanted to leave immediately. However, after he saw Liu Yang's expression, he smiled and said, Tomorrow. Tomorrow morning. Lin Dong left immediately after bidding Liu Yang and the rest goodbye. He led many troops before he rushed towards Dao sect. As Lin Dong was not familiar with the way to Dao sect, he brought along some of the Dao sect disciples who were at the capital. This caused them to be exceptionally excited. This was especially the case for that young lady called An Ran. In fact, her pretty face remained flushed ever since they left the city together. Along the way, they did not run into much obstacles. Given the speed of Lin Dong's group, a journey which typically took the Dao sect disciples over a dozen days was cut to half a day. After which, they gradually entered the territory of Dao sect. However, Lin Dong suddenly waved his hand and stopped on a cliff just as they were about to reach the mountain range, where Dao sect was located. Then, he looked into the distance. For some unknown reason, he felt some perspiration seeping out from his palm. It was as though he was returning home with mixed emotions. At that place, he would meet many people whom he had fond memories of. Marshal Senior Lin Dong, why did you stop? We are about to reach Dao sect. Anran asked somewhat uncertainly after she saw Lin Dong stopping. Beside him, little Martin looked at Lin Dong, who had a complicated emotion in his eyes. Then, as though he understood what Lin Dong was experiencing, he waved his hand towards Anran and said, "Little girl, be quiet." Anran widened her big eyes after hearing this. However, when she recalled little Martin's frightening strength, she shrinked her head and muttered to herself, "So what if you are good-looking?" Although her voice was soft, it was still transmitted into little Martin's ear. Immediately, his handsome face twitched slightly. He inhaled a deep breath of air before he forcefully suppressed the urge to toss that little lass. "I want all of you to stay behind first. Let me enter Dao sect by myself." Lin Dong sighed softly and said, "I? Send the signal if you run into any problems and we will hurry over." Little Martin nodded. After which, he grabbed that young lady, who was about to speak, and dragged her away forcefully. Lin Dong moved, transforming into a ray of light before he shot forward. Within a couple of minutes, a familiar mountain range appeared in front of his eyes. Meanwhile, an extremely large sect guarding formation was fully activated and it enveloped the entire mountain range. At the same time, countless Dao sect disciples were patrolling on the inside. Lin Dong appeared in front of the sect guarding formation. Then, black light flowed over the tip of his finger before he tore a small hole in the formation. After which, he dashed in like a phantom and did not attract anyone's attention. Lin Dong's figure shuttled through the vast Dao sect. There were many pill rivers flowing within the sect and they caused rumbling noises to spread. Even further in the distance were countless disciples from Dao sect who were currently undergoing the daily compulsory training. These scenes remained as familiar as ever. After all, they were deeply engraved in his heart and could never be removed. Lin Dong stood on a mountain cliff. As he looked at the vaguely visible training platform hidden within the clouds, he descended into silence for a long period of time. While Lin Dong was immersed in this sight, a melodious zither music was suddenly transmitted from the distance. The zither music flowed continuously, causing one to involuntarily revel in it. Lin Dong's body shook slightly upon hearing that zither music. With a complicated emotion in his eyes, he lifted his head. After which, he saw that there was a lovely figure seated on a pine tree that was protruding from a distant cliff. Meanwhile, there was a zither placed in front of her and her blue long hair was scattered down like an icy waterfall. Huanhuan. Lin Dong looked at that delicate pretty figure, before his hands trembled involuntarily. However, he firmly suppressed his aura and did not allow himself to be exposed. Although he would frequently dream about her beautiful face, for some unknown reason, he felt a little fearful when he was finally able to meet her. After all, he was afraid that things may have changed over time. That melodious music spread. After which, every disciple on the training platform also came to a temporarily halt. Then, countless pairs of eyes looked at that pretty figure seated on the cliff. Meanwhile, their eyes were all filled with respect and admiration. Over the past 3 years, Ying Huanhuan's reputation within Dao sect had soared after she repeatedly blocked the attacks from Yuan Gate time after time. In fact, her reputation had almost surpassed Ying Xuanzi. The zither music gradually came to an end. Lin Dong involuntarily sighed softly after he detected the loneliness in her music. At that instant, his perfectly hidden aura gave off a slight fluctuation. Boom! That zither music, which was about to end, suddenly turned sharp and it was as though the zither strings had snapped. Promptly, countless Dao sect disciples lifted their heads in shock. After which, they saw that the alluring figure seated on a pine tree had suddenly stood up. That alluring figure moved before she directly appeared in the sky. She lifted her eyes to survey her surroundings. Her familiar-looking face no longer seemed as immature as before. In its place was beauty that could mesmerize the world. However, that beauty was accompanied by a trace of iciness. However, there was currently crystal tears rolling down this beautiful face, which was typically covered by an icy frost. Countless Dao sect disciples stared at her in bewilderment. Clearly, they did not understand why this little senior sister, who typically acted in a cool and indifferent manner, would end up in such a state. Her pretty eyes ignored the countless pairs of stunned eyes as she surveyed the mountain range. Finally, she bit her red lips. Then, her voice contained some fury as it resounded across the sky. Lin Dong. You dare to return, yet you do not dare to come and see me. Her voice resounded across the entire Dao sect. Soon after, an uproar erupted across the entire Dao sect. This episode ends here.